Tofu with tomato sauce is one of those dishes that offers a comforting simplicity while still being full of flavor and satisfaction. The crispy exterior of the fried tofu combined with the rich, tangy tomato sauce creates a beautiful contrast of textures, and it's the kind of dish that feels both light and deeply nourishing at the same time. It's the sort of meal that takes you back to the basics, where simple ingredients come together in the most satisfying way, offering both comfort and nourishment. It's hearty, yet not too heavy, familiar, yet always a little bit surprising. Begin by preparing the tofu. Start with firm or extra firm tofu for the best results. The key to getting that crispy, golden crust lies in pressing the tofu. Place the block of tofu between two clean kitchen towels or paper towels and place a heavy object, like a pan or a book, on top to press out the excess water. You'll want to press it for about 20 to 30 minutes, depending on how much moisture the tofu has absorbed. The more water you press out, the better the tofu will crisp up when fried. Once pressed, slice the tofu into cubes or triangles, whichever shape you prefer. Heat a good amount of oil in a pan over medium-high heat. You'll want the oil to be hot enough so that when you place the tofu pieces in, they sizzle. Fry the tofu in batches, making sure not to overcrowd the pan, so each piece gets a chance to crisp up. Turn the tofu occasionally to ensure it gets golden and crispy on all sides. Once cooked, remove the tofu from the pan and set it aside on a paper towel to drain off any excess oil. Now for the sauce. Start with fresh, ripe tomatoes. The flavor of fresh tomatoes is essential in this dish, so avoid using canned tomatoes if you can. Slice the tomatoes into quarters and then chop them roughly. In the same pan you used for frying the tofu, add a bit more oil and sauté finely chopped onions and garlic until fragrant, just a couple of minutes. You'll want the onions to be soft and translucent before adding the tomatoes. Once the onions are ready, add the chopped tomatoes to the pan. Let them cook down for a few minutes until they begin to break apart and soften. The tomatoes will release their juices, which will form the base of your sauce. At this point, season the sauce with a pinch of salt, a dash of pepper, and perhaps a touch of sugar to balance out the acidity of the tomatoes. For a more complex flavor, add a few leaves of fresh basil or oregano, or even a dash of dried Italian herbs. Let the sauce simmer gently, allowing the tomatoes to reduce and thicken about 10 to 15 minutes. You want it to be a bit chunky but still saucy, the kind of consistency that will coat the tofu nicely without being too runny. Once the sauce is ready, it's time to bring everything together. Gently add the fried tofu pieces back into the pan with the tomato sauce, making sure to coat each piece evenly. Let the tofu simmer in the sauce for a few more minutes, allowing the flavors to meld together. This step helps the tofu absorb some of the sauce's tangy richness, softening slightly while still maintaining its crispy exterior. The tofu will take on a beautiful golden hue from the sauce, and the sauce itself will thicken just enough to become velvety and rich. As the tofu finishes cooking in the sauce, it's time to prepare your sides. Steamed rice is a classic accompaniment, and it's the perfect base to absorb all the delicious sauce. A fluffy, fragrant bed of rice makes the whole dish feel complete, grounding the tangy tomatoes and crispy tofu in a comforting way. You could also blanch some greens. Spinach, bok choy, or kale work wonderfully here. Blanching the greens preserves their vibrant color and fresh taste, adding a light, refreshing element to the dish that balances out the richness of the tofu and sauce. When everything is ready, serve the tofu with tomato sauce over the steamed rice, accompanied by the blanched greens on the side. The bright red of the tomato sauce contrasts beautifully with the golden brown tofu, and the vibrant greens add a fresh touch. Each bite offers a bit of everything: the crispy, savory tofu, the tangy, rich sauce, and the soft rice with a burst of freshness from the greens. The flavors are simple but satisfying, each ingredient enhancing the others in a way that feels both comforting and nourishing. What makes this dish truly special is how it combines textures and flavors in such a balanced way. The tofu, once crispy and golden, now softens slightly in the sauce, absorbing the flavors but still holding its shape. The tomato sauce, with its natural sweetness and acidity, perfectly complements the savory tofu, bringing a brightness that makes the dish feel fresh and light, even though it's hearty enough to feel like a complete meal. The steamed rice ties everything together, grounding the dish in its comforting simplicity. Tofu with tomato sauce is the kind of meal that is perfect for any occasion. It's easy enough for a weeknight dinner, but also flavorful enough to serve to guests. It's healthy, with plant-based protein from the tofu, antioxidants from the tomatoes, and fiber from the greens. The dish is light enough to not leave you feeling heavy, yet it's satisfying in the way only a well-balanced meal can be. It's a dish that celebrates the power of simplicity, where every ingredient plays its part, enhancing the others without overwhelming. When you share this meal, you're offering not just food, but a little moment of care and nourishment. It's a dish that says, here's something wholesome, something that will make you feel good. And that's a kind of kindness that is felt with every bite. The combination of crispy tofu, rich tomato sauce, and fresh rice and greens offers a kind of balance that's soothing for both the body and the soul. It's the kind of meal that makes you feel grounded, fulfilled, and just a little bit lighter. So take your time making it, fry the tofu carefully, let the sauce simmer, and savor the process. When you sit down to eat, take a moment to appreciate the beauty of a dish that's simple, nourishing, and so full of heart. Let it remind you that sometimes the most comforting meals are the ones that don't try too hard. They just are.